All right, let's get started. Hey, last week I covered a lot of information, but there were some major concepts I really implore you to take away from this series. Okay, let's get started. First, know yourself with money. This means you must sacrifice the illusion that you already do. Simply, this means that your behavior may be very different than how you think you behave and spend your money. That can be a challenge. That may explain why at the end of the month you have more money than you have money. That can be a problem. Next, humans are not hardwired to work well with money. In fact, research indicates that as much as 95 to 99% of all of our spending is emotional, non-conscious, and automatic. Yep, that's why you have the upsell, over-the-top navigation sound system in the car you bought. Finally, I introduced 4 critical challenges every spender faces. And you need to understand these challenges if you hope to make better money choices. They are: first, your biology; second, your beliefs; third, your culture; and finally, the rules of money have changed. In this video, I'm going to be focusing on your biology. Let's get started and bring another piece of the puzzle together. Okay, let's start talking a little bit about our biology. Now, I want to keep this simple, and I'm going to focus on our brains. Our brains are about 3-pound mass on the top of our shoulders, the most incredible organ in our bodies. I'll say the most incredible organ in the universe. It has trillions of cells and synapses and things going on, and it keeps our heart pumping and our lungs working, and it thinks about what's going to be on TV tomorrow, and it makes you spend more on some things than you want to. The question is, why? Because it's our biology that is a foundational piece of our spending behavior. And traditionally, we don't talk about this, but we are today. Remember, our ancient brain biology evolved to do 2 things very, very well: keep us alive and pass on our genes. It appears our brain was more concerned with keeping our ancestors alive as they ran through the forest looking for something to eat while not being something to eat in the process. Staying alive is critical. That's why we do so many things automatically and instinctively and emotionally. In milliseconds, we make decisions and pass on our genes. Preserve the species. Yep, that's what our head is best designed for. Nowhere in that incredible organ does it say anything about managing money well. Think about this. If our brain biology is ancient, money's only been around for maybe 2,000 to 3,000 years. And when we talk about the modern economy, well, that's relatively new. So we should be surprised when we get money right, not when we get money wrong. Now, to keep this simple, I divide the brain into really 2 areas: the feeling brain and the thinking brain. Obviously, this is an oversimplification. Even the traditional 3-brain model, the primitive brain, the midbrain, the modern brain, it doesn't do any of the science service. Our brains are infinitely complex. We don't even understand how much of it works. But for what we're doing right here, you need to keep in mind that you have a feeling brain and a thinking brain. Your feeling brain does things that are incredibly important, and they do it without you having to think about it. Our thinking brain is our newer brain, and it's used for higher order thinking, obviously. But let's see what we're talking about here. Feeling brain, number 1, it's primitive. It's been around for eons. That's the brain that helped us get across the savannah, again, without being lunch for somebody else that was chasing us down. It is reactive. Have you ever been chased by something, heard thunder or fireworks, and you just react? You don't think about it? That's your feeling brain. Emotional. Yep, that's where all your emotions are. Multitask. We do multitask. And think about it this way. Your heart is pumping, you're breathing, your brain is taking in billions of bits of information while you're watching this video. adjusting temperature for the environment. Very, very complex stuff, but your brain does it amazingly efficiently. It's the default. We're very comfortable in our feeling brain. As a matter of fact, we want to, as a species, conserve energy. So our feeling brain is a little bit more lazy. It's a little bit, well, laid back. And it's automatic. Very simple, very similar to being reactive, but it's automatic. It does things without you having to prod it along. It generalizes. It takes information from wildly different places, brings them together, and makes generalized assumptions about what's going on. It's an associative brain. It means it takes bits and pieces from your past and your environment to put together pictures in your mind so you can make decisions. It's quick and it's based on experience. Our thinking brain, on the other hand, you can call this our modern brain. Our thinking brain is pretty much our frontal cortex. It's modern. It's proactive and rational. Yep, we do have a rational side, but as you'll find out soon, it's not where we're most comfortable. It tends to be single task. The concept that during an important decision that you can multitask is a myth. Have you ever thought about it? If you're lost or have an important place to go, that you turn the radio off in the car or you turn the TV down when you really need to concentrate? Why do you think we ask you to go someplace to find a quiet space to think and do something deliberate? That's your thinking brain. It is tend to be single task. It's not good at doing a whole bunch of stuff. When you have your brain overloaded, your thinking brain, too much going on, you tend to make mistakes. It's the exception, not the norm. In other words, I said before, we're comfortable in our feeling brain. That's where we spend most of our time. Our thinking brain is by exception because it takes a lot of energy. It takes a lot of effort. And emotionally and from the physiology, we're not that comfortable there. So we want to move back to our feeling brain. It's on purpose, very specific, but much slower to react when you compare it to the feeling brain. And it wants to have things proven to it. Let me give you an example. If you're walking through the woods, it's dusk, and you hear a snap. And out of the corner of your eye, you perceive a large shadow moving towards you at a fairly good speed. Do you stop and go, it's dusk. My perception must be diminished. I must turn and determine what that is. The sound might have been something completely different. It could be a bear, but it may not be. I better investigate. No, you hear the snap of the twig. You alert. It goes right into your feeling brain and bang, you're running down the trail because you don't want to find out the hard way if that fact was a bear. Once you calm down, then you may sit back and rationally think about what happened and laugh that you were foolish to think that shadow that was somebody's sheet on a clothesline was in fact a bear. But you must understand that your feeling brain and thinking brain are what make you human. And also use this metaphor. Star Trek. You're all familiar with Star Trek. Two of the main characters, Mr. Spock and McCoy. Spock was the analytical, rational first officer who was the brains of the ship. And then McCoy was down in the engineering, whose hair was always on fire because something was going to blow up or something wasn't working. Well, we're neither Spock, we're neither McCoy, but we're more McCoy than we are Spock. If we were totally rational and we took a deliberate effort to prove every decision, every action, every behavior before we took an action, a step, or a behavior, we would never get out of the house. So remember, with your money, you are naturally wired to be in your happy place, your feeling brain when spending, because spending makes you feel good. It's emotional. It's part of who we are. So this simply means that in important, consequential spending situations, new car, house, college education, retirement planning, long-term planning. You must sit and force yourself from your feeling brain to your thinking brain. Here's another example. Going to the supermarket. We in the United States and Western cultures tend to go in the right door and turn to the right. Well, what's in the right side of the supermarket? Usually you walk into this week's specials, then high margin things like flowers, candy, and baked goods. Then you walk by the deli, through the produce, and then meat and dairy on the back wall. Well, you might have gone in to buy a gallon of milk, but since you went the right way around the store, your feeling brain is already primed to spend some money. It's a familiar place. It's a store you like, so you feel good. Now you're very, very susceptible to spend. And you get in and you see the bright colors and the lights and the smell of the flowers. And immediately your associated brain goes, wow, they look great on my table. Well, I'll just throw them in the basket. Then you go by the bakery, and the smell of warm bread triggers your feeling brain. And even though you know you probably shouldn't, you take a freshly baked loaf of bread, put it in your cart, and maybe a few chocolate chip cookies because, well, they're chocolate chip cookies. Move down past the deli side. You know you shouldn't eat deli meat, processed food, all that kind of stuff, but it's all right there and it's so easy to grab and go. Through the vegetable section, high-priced grapes aren't stale. The ones you read about online that have this unique taste like cotton candy. I know they're expensive, but I've always wanted to try them. Hey, what the heck? I put them on my cart. Well, you finally make your way down to the milk, and dairy's kind of boring, so you throw one in your cart. You work your way back to the cash register, and what do you see there? Magazines, snacks, newspapers, maybe even clothing and t-shirts. See, the entire store is designed to conspire against you, to force your feeling brain to spend money. And for many of us, it's hard to fight it. But you can. Here's a tip. Make a list, a short list. Go in the left-hand door. Turn to the left. Go right to the dairy department. Pick up your milk. Come straight back. Go to the checkout. Pay and get back in your car. That is a thinking brain activity. And you can do it. So, folks, in this session, you need to understand you've got a feeling brain and a thinking brain. Your feeling brain is in charge. Okay, what's the takeaway here? Here are a few pro tips. Number one, as humans, we like stories. As a matter of fact, we've existed on a narrative most of the time we've been on Earth. We love stories. Stories are emotional. We don't like numbers as much because stories are feeling brain, numbers are thinking brain. We seek to confirm, not to deny. Going through the work and effort to deny a decision or to talk yourself out of a decision is hard work. On the other hand, confirming your decision is pretty easy. And think about this. The internet makes it incredibly easy to validate a choice, particularly in spending, when, well, maybe it wasn't that good a choice to begin with. That's called confirmation bias. We sometimes are just lucky with money and not brilliant. I think that speaks for itself. Even though we've done something amazing, it may be because we were just at the right place at the right time and we took advantage of it. That's called lucky. Brilliance, your innate ability, may have had nothing to do with the fact that your family is worth $1 billion today because 2 generations ago, the interstate went through your great-grandfather's farm and your grandfather had enough foresight to put a hotel up. That's called luck. Okay? Now, they were smart enough to take advantage of the opportunity, but to say they orchestrated the road going through the farm may be a bit of a stretch. We see what we expect, not the truth. This is huge. We tend to see and perceive what we expect to see, and it may not, in fact, be true. We like order, not chaos and ambiguity. We're emotional, and our emotions are often biased and wrong. Our brains are not perfect. We often think poorly, particularly with money, and we're never as rational as we think. I had a client a few years ago who had a PhD in theoretical statistics. He was brilliant. He came into the office for an appointment, brought with him every notebook he'd ever had, and he had every piece of paper. He could account for every dollar and cent he'd spent through his entire career. And he sat there and emotionally explained to me why he's rational. We're human. We are always human with our money. Remember that. You will always be human with your money. You are more McCoy than you are Spock. Money choices are always emotional, and our feeling brain is in control. Biology. It's a major driver in how you think and feel about money, how you spend your money, how you take your decisions, and your quality of life, and what you feel is important to you. Remember, money is a human endeavor, primarily in the feeling brain, but if you want to be successful in important areas, you need to move to your thinking brain. Join me back here next week, and we'll cover how to fix. Quickly, if you'd like to get a hold of me and talk about any of this, more information, you can grab a copy of my book on Amazon. You can also check out my website. A lot of good information there. And this is important stuff. If you really want to get your head around money, you need to start with a little bit of information, a little bit of knowledge.